original.
Hello and welcome to Webcrawlers, the podcast where we do a deep dive into some of our favorite mysteries. Each week we will introduce our topic, lay out our research and findings, and reveal some conspiracy theories and conclude with our own hypothesis. I phrase that really bizarrely. I put the
just
wrong
words.
Yeah,
they're just words.
Wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. I am Allie Siegel.
I'm Melissa Stettin.
And as you know now, that's all, folks. Who are our patrons for today?
We have Jessica, and I think it's just Jessica this week. Welcome,
Wow.
Jessica.
Jessica, you're more than
Jessica
enough for
Simpson.
us. Jessica Simpson. Tomorrow, we are recording a Patreon episode with John Tenney on remote viewing.
I don't really know what that is exactly.
Okay, so it's like we talked about it in some of our episodes on the CIA and things like that.
Okay.
But it's like where they and it also I think it was also in the Men Who Stare at Goats episode.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's when you'd be in a room and someone would be closing their eyes and they'd be visualizing another space and psychically knowing either what was going on in that space or what that space looked like. For example, I think they were trying to use it in the government to figure out what other army bases look like or enemy territories look like and things like that. John is going to have us explain it to us more in depth tomorrow and then have you and I do some remote viewing.
Ooh.
Of I don't know what, maybe where he is or something, and then he'll tell us how correct we are. So we'll
his bedroom.
see. Yeah, his bedroom. He's just naked
John.
in his bedroom.
Are your clothes on the floor?
Yeah. So we'll see if you and I are psychic and how accurate we are, and that is going to be a Patreon
can't
video.
wait.
So get excited for that. Today's a doozy, folks. Our episode today is on Teal Swan. She's been in the cultural zeitgeist for a while, but especially now. She is a self-help guru and a possible cult leader. She's seen presently in the freeform documentary series The Deep End, which can be watched on Hulu. It's 4 episodes.
It's so good.
If you haven't watched it, it is required viewing.
It is, first of all, it's just shot beautifully. Whoever did the cinematography on it, it's shot like a TV show. And it's so, the quality is so good.
It's incredible. We'll talk later. Teal has released a video saying that the editing, she got a quote unquote bad edit.
Yeah.
You can't edit a personality. But I talked to some people about what a bad edit means.
Sure.
So we'll discuss that and the relevance of that. There's also a 1 episode Vice.
Oh yeah.
A Vice episode on her on I can't remember what the show is called. It's also on Hulu and I'm sure the Vice network. But the sources for today's episode include that Hulu documentary, The Deep End. There's an amazing Gizmodo podcast called The Gateway.
Oh, yeah.
There's a YouTube channel called Teal Swan Exposed. That's great. And I also watched a documentary on Gaia, which is a subset of Amazon Prime. It's all new age stuff on Amazon Prime. You have to pay $11.99 a month to get it. So I have to remind myself to cancel that subscription. And a fan.
You won't.
I'm going to quote unquote cancel that subscription.
Right.
But a fan made a documentary on her and I watched that as well. And it's obviously a favorable documentary on her.
Right.
Trigger warnings for this episode. It includes sexual abuse, suicide, self-harm, cult stuff.
Everything. Pretty much
honestly,
everything.
Yeah, trigger abuse, trigger warnings, everything. So if you are sensitive to that stuff, maybe this is not the episode for you. I don't even know where to begin because
there's so much stuff about her. It's crazy.
And
it's
I've
crazy.
been in such a Teal Swan K-hole for the past 3 days.
You have been.
And it's hard because I'm not going to lie. We have similarities in our belief systems and paths and stories.
Sure.
Some of what she says at the root, I believe, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
As does,
That's how they get you.
Right. As does, I think, most self-help cults and things that go awry. Like even with Nexium, I think that some of the core of their practices is relevant and does have a therapeutic or psychological basis. But then I think whenever there's a practitioner that says, I have all the answers, or
red flag.
or I am the authority, or I know more about your life than you do, or I cannot be wrong. That is when problems and red flags, like you said, start to arise.
Mm-hmm. Or when they start asking for a lot of money for things.
Oh, yeah, exactly. When things begin to be monetized, I believe that that's an issue as well. The extrasensory stuff that we'll get into as well also creates an issue.
Yeah.
And there's some things that she does which psychologically and scientifically have been proven to have detrimental effects. I will say, because when I started getting into her and started researching her, I was, when I first...
You're pro Teal Swan.
This is a pro Teal Swan. When I first started researching her, I was like, these are some things that I practice myself and that I believe. Mm-hmm. But then like her ego gets in the way and she goes an extra... It's right up to minute 3. And then at 3 minutes, 30 seconds, she says something crazy and then it goes off kilter, you know?
Yeah. It really takes a dark turn like quickly.
Yeah. So if you watch her videos and at first you start being like, this makes sense to me, know that it's the whole picture that creates some wrongdoing. So who is Teal Swan? What is her upbringing? Her born name is Mary Teal Bosworth. She was born June 16th, 1984. Hold on. What zodiac sign is June 16th?
Wait, what? Today's June 14th. Her birthday's in 2 days.
Birthday episode. Oh, Teal Swan. She's a Gemini.
What does that mean?
That's like the bad one.
Oh,
that's the bad zodiac sign. That's when the Gemini is the twins. So that's usually the sign that like you have like a dual personality.
Oh,
or there's like 2 very like fractured sides to you. If you're a Gemini and you're a fan of us and you're listening, that does not apply to you. You're different.
Paisley.
Oh,
Paisley Gray.
Yeah. So
her birthday is Saturday.
Paisley's a good Gemini.
She's a good Gemini. Sorry.
Hashtag not all Geminis. She was born in Santa Fe, New Mexico, but she was raised in Utah. Since she was a child, from the age of 3 years old, she claimed clairsentience, clairaudience, clairvoyance, meaning she could hear things, otherworldly things, see otherworldly things, feel the emotions of others, like extreme empathy. Basically, she says she has a photographic memory. She claimed that she could see otherworldly like creatures from other dimensions when she was a child, and that no one else could see them. She says she has access to the Akashic records, which is basically people believe that it's the thoughts and feelings that every thought and feeling that has ever happened and ever will happen.
Wow.
So she believes that she has access to this.
Okay.
She also says that she is a medical savant.
Oh.
What that means, I don't even know, but she's not saying she's a medical clairvoyant, or medical psychic, which some people believe they can sense what's wrong with you medically.
Like dogs.
Yeah, dogs smell cancer. I had a hairdresser who once said she could smell cancer. And I never went to her again because I was like, she's going to smell something on me one day and I'm never going to come back. Yeah, I don't want to know. I think she claims that she can learn things about medicine
like
and
diagnose people.
She basically has WebMD and thinks she can diagnose people. I mean, I think I'm a medical savant. Like I look on WebMD and I'm like, I have it.
Yeah. I'm a doctor as well.
I'm a doctor. Yeah, you texted me earlier, Dr. Seton. I think she also believes though that she could perform like surgery if she had to. I think she goes that far. Yeah. She claims that she was a childhood model, that she was discovered at a horse store, which I guess they have in Utah.
A horse
store. She was signed as a model and alleges that she traveled the world making money as a model as a child and a teen.
Right, she has a model mayhem profile.
Yes, but there's no evidence or photos.
Right, there are no like professional photos anywhere.
The only photos that there are of her are like lingerie photos,
right,
that your friend would take of you.
Right, like local photographers in Utah, like trade for pics.
Yeah, like when a guy messaged you on Instagram and is like, I would like to take some photos of you. And then you go to his house and he takes weird bikini shots of you and he puts them up on their Instagram. Yeah. Like those are the only quote unquote modeling photos that exist of Teal Swan. Though she claims that she was a model who traveled the world and made money.
I mean, she for sure could work as a model.
She's pretty. She's very beautiful. Striking. Yeah, she's very striking. She also claims that she was going to pose for Playboy, although there's no...
Oh, right. I read that too.
Yeah.
There's no
proof of that. She went to therapy all throughout her childhood because of all her special abilities, but said that it never worked. She also allegedly was sent to... I believe it was China to work with a Qigong master who only worked with quote unquote special children who also had extrasensory abilities. Qigong.
Like 11 in Stranger Things.
I was like, she was sent to Hogwarts? Like, this is bizarre. She went to Hogwarts. Her story is just so fantastical. And there's so many parts that are fantastical that it's just like, what?
It doesn't line up. The
timeline doesn't line up. Qigong is similar to like Tai Chi or martial arts, but it's like a movement of energy. You can Google it. Some people use it as like an exercise or kind of like a meditation. Anyway, so she claims that she went to this special school. The most interesting part and the part that shaped her whole career is that she claims she suffered 13 years of satanic ritual abuse throughout her childhood and escaped when she was 19 years old from two different cults, a satanic group and a blood covenant group.
Cool.
So let's get into that. Again, incredible sympathy for anyone who has gone through this. And obviously this is a real thing that existed. However, this was during the satanic panic.
Right.
Her diary entries from this time have no mentions of any of this. And these are things that she, quote unquote, remembered after she started working with a therapist who we will get into in a bit.
Barbara.
Yeah, Barb, who's problematic. So as we talked about, Teal claims that she was a special child and her family didn't really know what to do with her. So allegedly, not allegedly, this apparently was true. Her parents talked about this her parents were actually interviewed in the Gaia documentary. A family friend took her under his wing, would meet with her sometimes. The frequency is obviously up for debate. Her parents acknowledge this. He's never named, although there's a police report that she has filed about him that I could not find, but it has gone cold and it was never substantiated.
I wonder why she never pursued it. I mean, there's many reasons why you don't pursue things like that, but
I think there was never enough evidence for them to actually do anything about it.
Yeah, that's hard to prove that stuff.
Yeah. So Teal claims that this family friend had multiple personality disorder and psychopathy. He allegedly was also a veterinarian and was well-liked and powerful in the community.
Ew.
My first question is, if you're a psychopath with multiple personality disorder, obviously untreated, and this man will come to know is also in a satanic cult, you can't control if you're untreated multiple personality disorder. So it's surprising to me that he would be of such high standing in the community and have a full-time job and be powerful and well-liked while also having multiple personality disorder and being a psychopath untreated.
Yeah, maybe he hid it really well.
I don't think it's not like a choice though.
Right.
So I don't know how you can hide. From what I know,
multitasker.
Yeah. He's a real Renaissance man.
Yeah.
So she claims that this man was in a satanic cult with others in the community, that he would drug her with ketamine and rape her, that he would chase her into the forest and hunt her down. And if she, quote unquote, won, that she would get a prize. And if he, quote unquote, won or caught her, that he would rape her and cut into her. That sometimes she would be hogtied and forced into either the basement or into, I think she said it was like a 4x6 hole in the ground, and forced to stay there for a while. This is horrible. I sent you a clip. We can play it in a second. She said once she was sewed into a corpse and he forced her...
Sewed into a corpse and forced to have sex with it as the corpse's genitalia was erect due to rigor mortis. No.
Yeah. So
no.
I know. Will you play the clip I sent you real quick? This is from a documentary of her explaining some of the ritualistic abuse.
8 years old, he ended up sewing me into a body and leaving me there for about 12 hours.
12 hours?
Because the body was in rigor mortis, his penis was completely erect. So he also had me perform like sex with this body. And so I'm having sex with this corpse, and he's getting off on it. Like, by this point, he had taken the knife and taken a huge slice of this guy's leg off of his thigh muscle and was just chewing on it.
No, like jerky.
Cannibalistic as well. So he was chewing on this raw piece. He never cooked it, by the way. He was into raw stuff. I was not prepared for how unready people would be for that.
But this is the veterinarian guy.
This is the veterinarian.
What the fuck?
And he did not steal her. Like, he would do this stuff and then like she would be returned to her parents.
It's like that one. Do you remember the one documentary where like the family friend would like take the kid and would like abuse her and then like eventually seduce the parents?
Yes,
abducted in plain sight.
In plain sight, yes. But I don't think there was a ritual.
No, there was no satanic
cannibalism. She also claimed that the veterinarian killed 5 children.
Oh.
And that that she witnessed, and that the satanic group itself killed 7.
But these are all repressed memories.
Yeah.
Brought back up by Barb. This therapist.
Who we'll get into.
At the height of the satanic panic.
At the height of the satanic panic. My question is, if all these kids were killed in a small town, it seems like that would be known.
Yeah, there's no...
Yeah, like, who are they? Why was there no huge investigation about all these kids who were being killed? It would seem like she would be a huge star witness. This would be a gigantic deal.
Yeah.
She continues to say, he had me carving ritual symbols into the dead bodies of the children.
Ugh.
At one point, she says that she would
that they would kill children and then throw them onto a fire. Which is interesting because in the Freeform Hulu documentary, if you remember, she does repressed memory therapy with her assistant. And the assistant all of a sudden has a memory of children
going into the fire, children into the that's right.
Yeah, and a lot of her childhood memories echo the memories that Teal had as a child.
Oh, I didn't even put that together. That's weird.
So a lot of these memories a lot of the memories during the Satanic Panic that were recovered by therapists or other people were all the same, which is a little suspect.
Yeah.
So Teal claims that the reason she wasn't killed is because her purpose in this cult group was of the Oracle. She was being raised to become something called the Pythia, which was a top female position in the group. Apparently, the cult's goal was to raise an Oracle child to become this Pythia, like a psychic channel to the other world. She said that she would put her hands on people and they would experience healings. And so she was being, I guess, raised or kind of groomed by this cult to be an oracle figure.
Okay.
That being said, that seems like a kind of revered position. So it's surprising to me that they would put her in a whole hogtied and make her have sex with corpses and rape her and hunt her down if they're training her to be this top female position in the cult. To me, that's a conflicting idea.
Yeah. Okay.
She also says that she was forced into sex work. She says the veterinarian would take her to the gas station, and in the bathroom, he would, excuse me if this is the wrong terminology, he would pimp her out all day to up to 8 men in a day, force her, and this is in her childhood and her adolescence, force her to have sex with them. Again, if he was a veterinarian and esteemed in the community and made a good living, why was he doing this?
He was under the spell of Satan.
Yeah, apparently. She said that she had 2 forced abortions with veterinary equipment. She had to do ritual bleeding where they would cut her and then bleed her into a chalice, and then I guess they would do spells or something with it. They made her do electroshock therapy, and this was all during her adolescence, and then she would go back home and do her modeling, then go to school. She has said before that she got straight A's in school and graduated when she was 16 years old. She did ballet. She obviously showed signs of depression, but there was
something on her blog about being on a ski team. Like,
she wanted to be an Olympic skier too.
Or she said she placed 4th in some sort of competition, but then like when they contacted like the competition, they're like, no, she wasn't that good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's this weird dichotomy of she's this traveling model through her childhood. She's playing sports. She's a straight A student who suffers from depression. She says that she had attempted suicide in her childhood. She's living with her parents, but then also is the oracle in these satanic cults, getting routinely raped and abused.
Where did she have the time for all this?
I don't have the time to do anything. So this is what she says her childhood was. At 19 years, and also she says throughout this time that she's being routinely drugged on ketamine and is
And ketamine's crazy. I did it once. Oh boy.
Yeah, I have heard that it's insane. So eventually at age 19, she escapes this cult. She says that she's super drugged out on ketamine. She gets in her car at this, I guess she's at the veterinarian's house. Her car is there. She gets in her car on the ketamine or on whatever drug she's on, and she drives 3 hours away to a man named Blake's house who she had met only twice before casually.
And Blake is the same Blake in the documentary.
Yeah, and Blake is, to this day, if you watch the documentary, they end up dating and breaking up, but he becomes kind of
her not assistant, but like right hand man.
Yeah, he helps develop her company. They work together for like 18 years. I mean, and live together. So this man who she meets twice, she ends up escaping this cult that night, drives to his house, and then they're together ever since. Bizarre origin story, and some think like, is this made up to kind of create the foundation of her?
That's crazy. I didn't realize that that's how they met, or that's how she says they met.
Yes. Yeah. And then from there, they start, I think she said, within a few weeks, they start filming their, Ask Teal videos and putting them on YouTube. So here we've alluded to this a few times. Barb. It turns out that the therapist that Teal went to is actually a central figure in this satanic ritual abuse moral panic in Utah in the 1980s and early 1990s. And she was Teal Swan's therapist in the early 2000s. And she went on probation.
Right.
In 2008 to avoid litigation for violating codes of professional conduct and ethical principles defined by the National Association of Social Workers. The state alleged that Snow had convinced her relatives that they were victims of satanic ritual abuse and military testing, and that she had also fabricated notes from her sessions. Snow admitted to destroying her relative's computer with a baseball bat. And
she was up to no good. She's obsessed with the satanic panic. I feel like she's just trying to convince people.
Yes,
the satanic panic. They're just like all being.
And she had many clients, and she also was used. Testified on oath. She testified on
under oath.
Under oath. So I still have like COVID brain where sometimes I just like forget words and forget how to say. Yeah, I forget how to say sentences. She was used as a, what is it called when you're used?
Witness?
Yes, thank you. This is why we need two people for the podcast. She was used as a witness for all these cases where children were saying that they were abused. And then it turned out that she had, and then video had come out of her working with the kids, and it was all leading questions and all these tactics that later, these cases were overturned because they were like, you basically just implanted these memories into these kids.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. So Barb, in collaboration with, her real name is Barbara Snow, but Barb feels good. In collaboration with this woman, Tina Sorensen, Snow developed a framework for identifying 4 stages children go through when disclosing sexual abuse. According to Barb and Tina, the first stage is denial, where a child claims the abuse did not happen. Interesting. Okay. And then it's tentative and active are the next 2 stages. And then the final stage is reaffirm, where they reassert that the abuse actually did happen. So that's what they say the stages of abuse are. However, in 1990, Tina and Barb author a major academic article called Ritualistic Child Abuse in Your Neighborhood Setting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, which essentially...
Are there child abusers in your neighborhood tonight at 6?
Yeah. So essentially they say the study attributes the difficulty of detection in part to disassociation and repression of memories in victims. They're saying that the reason that these kids don't remember being satanic and ritually abused is because of disassociation and repression. Disassociation is real, and repression of memories is real. It's something your body blacks out severe trauma in order for you to keep living your life. And that's something that we'll talk about later in terms of Teal's methods.
It feels like Barbara was like exploiting that, though. Was like every single kid has repressed memories.
Yes, that doesn't exist. That doesn't get created
in everyone.
That's not just because you're having a little bit of conflict maybe with your family, or maybe you have some sort of form of depression. That does not necessarily mean you have disassociation and repression of memories. So she was taking that concept and applying it to everything because she had this belief in this satanic panic, which she does still believe. She wrote in 2018, she believes in multi-dimensional child abuse sex rings. Like, what does that even mean?
Multi-dimensional?
Like alien abuse sex rings? I don't know what that means.
Time traveling
Bigfoot sex abusers, medical and military sponsored mind control, commercial pornography, and domestic sex. Basically, she's QAnon.
She's QAnon. Yeah,
she's Q.
Barb.
So she's Barb's Q. So after Teal started working with Barb, she had all these memories of being ritualistically abused. This created the foundation of all of her spiritual work, and she started developing this YouTube where she was like, I want to start working with other people who have probably been through this. Like, I think that I have the answers, and I have all the answers.
Right.
And she's also been told her whole life that like she suffers from this like delusions of grandeur and terminal uniqueness. You know, she's like, I can talk to aliens. I have access to all the information in the world. You know, I see auras. I'm special, and I've been through all this stuff. I can help others. So
there was a crazy part in the documentary where I think her name is Sabrina, who kept coming to Teal's things, and Teal would tell her like,
your parents hate you.
Your parents don't love you. And Sabrina was like, well, I know it's true because Teal said it, and Teal is ESP.
Yeah. She was like, I didn't know my parents hated me, but Teal's psychic. So she knows. And I was like, oh no. Yeah.
Oh, no.
And that's part of Teal's thing is, and you'll see in her inner circle, is she convinces everyone around her that that their parents hate them and that they should never talk to their parents again. So that Teal becomes their new family and Teal becomes their higher power.
As a cult tactic?
Yeah, absolutely. Ostracizing you from, and it's emotional abuse at its, even if she's not a cult, like at its limit, at its fundamental level, it's like emotional abuse.
Yeah.
Whether or not she realizes it. It's like she's taking all her personal issues and projecting it onto everyone she works with.
It's so crazy watching it.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
This is like not important, but I just think it's interesting. She's been married 3 times, or it might be 4 times. I could only find 3.
I think it was 4.
I think it's 4 too, but I could only find 3.
All while living with Blake.
Yes, and Blake's been engaged like 3 times too. It's insane.
Right.
She's been married to Mark Scott, Teal Swan, Ale Jikwao. Maybe that's French. I don't know.
Ali G.
Ali G. She's married to Ali G. And the 4th one is Borat. She has a son named Winter, who is like
Winter Swan.
Yeah, Winter Swan, who's loosely featured in the documentary, but is prominently featured in this one on Gaia, which is like a fan documentary.
Oh.
Yeah. She says that he has a crystal aura and has inherited all of her gifts.
Oh no, this kid is gonna have a weird ass life.
Fuck, I know. Quick break for announcements. Webcrawlers has a Patreon to get access to bonus episodes like the one we talked about with John, shout outs, merch discounts. Please go to patreon.com/webcrawlers. It's as little as $2 a month or as little as $24 for the entire year if you want to throw us a bone and become part of that community. Also, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us raise to the charts, mostly in South
Raise to the charts. If you know what I mean.
If you know what I mean. We mostly only chart in South Korea, but you never know.
We do. We went up like 98 spots in South Korea.
I got that. I was in the car with my parents and I was like, we're like 98 in South Korea. And he's like, what are you in? My dad was like, what are you in America? And I was like,
it doesn't matter.
Nothing.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Top 500.
Yeah. You don't need to know. Yeah. Also, Erios has a hotline. Insert jingle here.
626-604-6262. Continue to call and we will continue to play your voicemails. So let's get on to her YouTube, which is where she gained her following. She has 1.28 million subscribers. It's growing every day. She has tons of videos. She releases like one a week. This is her bio. Wow. It says, Teal Swan, international speaker and best-selling author, is a survivor of severe childhood abuse. Today, having integrated her own harrowing life experience, she inspires millions of people around the world towards truth, authenticity, freedom, and joy. Teal is ranked 19th on the Watkins Most Spiritually Influential Living People in 2019. Like, who knows what that is? That's like the restaurant across from me, this burger joint. It says like
We're the 19th best burger joint in LA.
It says seventh best restaurant in the world, according to Yelp. And I'm like, there's no reason you're the seventh best. There's no way you're the seventh best restaurant in the world. You're like some weird ass burger bar. I think you can say anything.
You can say we're the number one. No, we're the 69th best podcast in America.
Yes, why not?
Why not?
By 420 magazine. As a renowned author, speaker, and social media star, she travels the world teaching self-development and teaching people how to transform their emotional, mental, and physical pain. She has given herself the moniker, The Mirror. When you step in front of her, you see the truth of yourself and the truth of the universe.
She's like Tom Cruise's character in Magnolia.
Yeah, 100%. And she also...
the motivational speaker.
It's so scary. And she also calls herself a celebrity all the time.
You remember in the beginning, first episode of The Deep End, when she was going out to stage?
Yes.
She's like, I don't want to get flanked because like I'm not a normal celebrity. Like I'm the person people watch videos of at 3 a.m. when they're trying to kill themselves. Like she thinks of herself as like,
yes, absolutely.
Holy being.
And it's crazy for a spiritual guru to be totally driven by ego. Like, can you imagine the Dalai Lama saying that? Like, I don't want to be flanked by people. Like, I'm a celebrity.
Yeah. And like was it Sabrina again? Who was like very suicidal. And her first response to when like Sabrina was like, I'm going to kill myself. She's like, well, how's this going to look for us if she kills herself? And I'm like, that's what you're thinking of? Not the well-being of someone you're teaching? It was crazy.
There's a really interesting part in the documentary where this guy is like, I'm concerned that there's no one you look up to or no one you learn from or there's no one who like checks you. And she's like, why are you so fucking concerned that I have a mentor? Like, I just have all the answers. Like, I haven't found anyone who knows more than me yet. So
she got so defensive.
Yeah. And she's like, if you were to round up all the fastest people in the world and you found the fastest one, would you say like you're not the fastest because there's no one faster than you? Like, no. Like, I am like factually like the most spiritual person on earth, so I don't need anyone more spiritual than me. And he's like, okay.
Like, wrong answer.
Like the number one sign of someone who's spiritual is that they remain teachable and like see everyone else as a teacher.
Yeah, they have like mentors and people who inspire them, and like
she has no room
that just
for
seems like
growth.
a normal thing.
Yeah, but what Teal is most known for is her, and what has become most controversial is her thoughts on suicide. And her first client actually committed suicide. And that her client Leslie, and that has kind of been started this interest in Teal. She has a lot of quotes and videos on suicide that are problematic. Here are some of the quotes. She says, what suicide is pushing the reset button. It's not good or bad decision in and of itself. It's not something that source either condones or condemns. You cannot say that suicide is wrong without also saying that death is wrong. Death is always a choice. You choose not to participate in the same way as you choose to participate in the first place because you are 2 points of perspective. What I mean by that is every single death on this earth could be seen as suicide because in order to die, your individual perspective has to align with your higher self perspective in order to die. Like what?
Well, because she also believes in reincarnation.
Right. Yeah. So she's like, you'll just be reborn. It's like, I believe in reincarnation too, but that doesn't mean you should just kill yourself. Like
No.
you're here for a purpose and to like live. And that discredits all the people around you who care about you.
Right.
She also says, for the majority of people here on earth, death is such a liberation that you would give it to yourself. If you were suffering, you would give it to yourself. You definitely would not use it for the punishment of people who commit the worst crimes on earth. You perceive separation. Death, you can perceive no such thing as separation. Do you want to know what death is really like? She's talking to someone during this quote. Tell me something you like the most. The guest describes things he likes. Teal responds by saying, to experience death is like all those things you like at once. And then you go past that layer of reality and you are in complete and utter peace.
That's insane to say that, especially to people who are like very vulnerable and suicidal. They're like, oh, it's a relief.
Yeah. And she continued.
No, you can't say that.
No. And there's a bunch of quotes like that where she basically tells people, she says, you have to commit to life or you don't. And that's a dangerous thing to say to someone who's suicidal, because in that moment, if you're in severe depression, your choice is usually not to commit to life. And she has something called the completion process, which she wants to use for suicidal patients. She wants it to be used instead of the suicide hotline. And this is seen all throughout her documentary. It's an 18-step process. You can read about it on her website. We won't get into it in its entirety, but she basically has people re-experience their most traumatic memories and relive them. And what's crazy is that in the documentary, at least, people aren't reliving these experiences with her. They're usually reliving them with like other people who are on the retreats who are not versed in trauma or therapy.
Yeah, she has a team that she does like training and certification for, but it's not any sort of professional.
Yeah, or they're just acting out trauma experiences with other people who are there, and it's insane. She also does what she calls channeling, where if someone, for example, has an issue with their father who has passed, she will channel she will channel the spirit of the dead father and communicate.
Like a Ouija board.
Yeah, like a Ouija board. She'll become possessed, voluntarily possessed by that person and like communicate and then act out that conversation until the trauma. Here's the problem with reliving your most traumatic memories before you're ready. And a lot of these people are not ready. And that's why like that woman, Sabrina, is probably like, I feel worse after all of these retreats. Yeah. There's something, I've done a lot of therapy and I've worked with people who trauma-informed people. And there's something called the window of tolerance. And trauma can like shrink your window of tolerance. Meaning if you've gone through extreme trauma, there's probably less situations that you feel comfortable in. So you probably feel less comfortable in personal or romantic relationships. Maybe you suffer from, addiction or control issues or like agoraphobia or things like that. The goal of therapy is to expand your window of tolerance, but in a slow way. So for example, like I was talking about this with someone this morning where it's like, for example, let's say you feel uncomfortable with doing tasks, like it feels overwhelming for you due to past trauma or past experiences. Your therapist might say, for this month, let's just focus on opening your mail with regularity. and let's take baby steps.
Yeah.
So in order to expand your window of tolerance, basically what you do is take baby steps towards expanding it because you want to stay within that comfort zone, and little by little expand it. You want to try to get out of that comfort zone, but not to when you get out of the window of tolerance. So when you get out of that window of tolerance, that's when you get into like hypervigilance and fight or flight. So that can be like hyperarousal, dysregulation. For either, you can get hysterical, you can pass out, like you can go into severe depression or anxiety. You might start like sweating or things like that. Like, for example, if you have severe anxiety and you might find that you get into like a really crowded place and your heart starts beating and you get really anxious and you start like sweating and you start getting really nervous, you've gone outside your window of tolerance. The problem with reliving these traumatic memories before you're ready is it can get you so outside your window of tolerance that it can cause like psychosis.
Yeah, it can just be so overwhelming that you just shut down.
Yeah, you just like emotionally, you can like break your brain if you don't do it in baby steps. So Teal doesn't know these people who are coming to her for the completion process. Like, she hasn't worked with them extensively. They're there for like 2 weeks or something. That's not enough to know how ready they are.
She doesn't work with them for years. Like, therapists know you for like years.
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially, like the name of the documentary, she's just throwing them into the deep end and being
that's there you go for a documentary.
And being like, hey, like sink or swim. And it's kind of like this suicidal choice of like, you're either going to like, you have to choose to live or die. And like, I understand that at some point, you either have to like let go or be dragged, but that's not.
Everyone works at a different pace.
And psychologically, like neurologically, like that doesn't help, like that.
Right.
It has to be like at a slow pace with a professional.
Yeah, that's why therapists go to school and college for 4, 5, 6 years and get certifications and all of that stuff.
Yeah, she's also been fined for claiming to be a therapist before. I found her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I found her fine. She was fined like $500 or something for doing the completion process with someone on YouTube because I don't really know why, but anyways, she also sells, stuff. It gets a little freaky. She sells meditations, oracle cards, e-classes.
Oh, yeah.
Something, her art, frequency paintings, which she says will heal you. All that
Remember
stuff.
the guy
is
in the
weird.
documentary?
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, I bought some frequency paintings. I stared at them and they didn't do shit.
Yeah, they did not do shit to me. I know that this is a longer episode, but let's get down to the question of like, is she a cult? Because she actually hires a private investigator to answer this question for her.
Right.
And she does not get the answer that
I
she
love that
likes.
private investigator. It's this lady named Molly who's like in her 60s.
She's so fun.
She's really funny.
She like feeds frogs like worms. And I'm like, she's a spiritual guru. Like, this is what a good person looks like. So this private investigator that she hires for herself she's trying to justify her reputation and say, I know I actually am a good person. This private investigator finds the exact opposite, that Teal probably is a cult.
Yeah.
Not with all of her followers, but with her inner circle of these people who work for her.
Yeah, that contract.
Yes. So first of all, the people who work for Teal are not paid. They only get room and board. So they get to live with her and they get fed, but they do not get a salary. So that's illegal, first of all. That's a problem.
Yeah, how do they pay for
it's
things?
Bizarre.
Yeah.
She also tattoos them, which not forced tattoos, but a lot of them have Teal tattoos that she has quote unquote recommended for them, which is reminiscent of the NXIVM branding.
NXIVM.
Yeah, our favorite cult. There's also a list of non-negotiables for the people who work for Teal. They have to put Teal above everyone else, their families. They're not allowed to have partners unless the partners also want to be part of Teal's tribe and totally subscribe to Teal's lifestyle. They're not allowed to have children who live in the house with them.
Even though she has a child.
That's what's so weird about it.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to travel for leisure. So they can only travel for work. So essentially they can't travel to see their families or friends they're not allowed to take vacations or do anything for pleasure.
No.
They have to be on call 24/7. There's no off time. What were some of the other it was just basically Teal's number one, and you have to follow all her rules and just be available for her.
They live in Utah, right?
Yeah. It's so funny because there's a lot of stuff I tried to look at, and it's like, this has been removed by... I think she's really good at getting things removed that she doesn't want.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, so I'll end with this. Someone DM'd me because I was like, has anyone ever worked with Teal Swan or anything? This poor girl messaged me and said, "Hi, I have not attended a Teal Swan seminar, but feel very attached to that darkness. An ex-close friend of mine was obsessed with her and told me we should kill each other to quote unquote reset. It was my first introduction to Teal, and it was very traumatizing. Also was realizing this close friend was not my friend." Crazy. She said, "This girl was very vulnerable at the time, and I remember thinking Teal is targeting people exactly like my ex-friend."
Yeah, that's scary.
I mean, that's also part of it is Teal's a product of good SEO.
Right.
If you look up depression, suicide, anxiety on YouTube or whatever, like a Teal Swan will pop up.
That's crazy.
If you YouTube sad music, Teal Swan will eventually pop up. So you're going to be exposed to her stuff, whether you like it or not. Anyways, that's Teal Swan for you. Hopefully she won't come and get us.
Oh, she posted an Instagram.
Yes.
About the editing.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So she says it's a bad edit. She says that it was all spliced together and that they took things from different times. You have to have watched the documentary to understand what she is saying.
Right.
So what we will say is that we suggest everyone watch the documentary on Hulu, the freeform documentary.
4 episodes. It's really good. It's like a 1-hour drama. It's like there's twists and turns.
It's amazing. And then head to Teal's Instagram and watch her thoughts on episode number 4. And call into us and tell us what you think. What I've heard is that it is ethical to splice things together in a documentary.
Sure. I'm sure she signed a contract giving the creators creative freedom to do. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have agreed to do the documentary. That's
yes.
kind of how it works.
I don't want to give too much away for people who haven't watched it. There's one part that someone said, like, that part was a little bit iffy in terms of time editing. Otherwise, they were like, that's her personality. Like, you can't take away words that people, like, you can't edit words that people say. Like, those are the actual literal things that she said. Like, she's a bully. Like, she seems like a really mean bully. Yeah. There's one part where she basically, like, has everyone come around in a circle and is like, tell everyone say what they think is wrong about this girl who also works for them.
Oh, yeah. That was crazy.
And this girl seems like the nicest, quietest girl of all time. Like, you got to watch the doc, and then maybe after you guys all watch the doc, we'll do like a live Q&A or something, a live streaming Q&A about it. Anyways, if you guys have ever gone to she has a seminar coming up in LA. Unfortunately, I'm out of town.
Yeah, next week-ish. Yeah. In a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I wish I could go.
You could pay $99 to go, or you could pay $1,500 to sit in the front row.
Insane. It's so cool. Yeah. Can you imagine? All right, guys. Well, if you've ever been to a seminar, if you are a fan of hers, we want to hear from people who like her as well, or if she's ruined your life.
People like her.
Yeah, please let us know. Melissa, where can people reach us?
You can email us at webcrawlerspod@gmail.com.
All right. I'm Allie Siegel.
I'm Melissa Stettin.
That's all, folks. Bye.
Bye.
An Erios original.
Powered by Acast.